I'm playing some 1-3 no limit hold'em. I buy him for 300. I'm in the big blind. There are 2 limps and the small blind completes and I check. Flop comes 5, 6, 7. Small blind checks. I bet $10 with middle pair. Oh, that's right. I have 6 deuce of diamonds. Under the gun and the small blind call. The turn is a jack. Action checks through. The river is a brick. Action checks through again and I take it down with a pair of 6s. You might be wondering where the hell I'm at right now. Let me explain real quick.
Yeah, we're back at Viking Social. That means I am not in Texas. I'm back home for the holidays, getting ready to pack up and officially move everything to Texas. Came up here to visit my boy College Joe.
Yo, what is up, guys? How you guys doing?
They started a vlog, Hooked Poker, will probably exceed mine in the years to come. So go check them out. Let's get into this action.
Let's get it.
Now that intros are out of the way, let me get into this super fun hand for y'all. Our buddy College Joe raises to $12. And I decide to 3-bet him to $30 with the old 7 deuce offsuit. He calls and we plan on bluffing all 3 streets here. That's what the plan was anyways, but when the flop comes 6 deuce deuce, I'm now planning on betting all the way for max value. The poor young vlogger's eyes are wide shut. He checks as customary and I downsize to $25. He thinks for a second and makes the call. The turn is the 10 of spades. He checks, and now I value bet for $45. I want him to stick around now. I almost feel bad, but then I remember this hand. Am all in. Joe snap calls. That's not good.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Instantly shows. King, king, set over set. Yeah, that was College Joe who set over set me in that hand. He thinks for a while, saying he has a strong hand, and eventually just makes the call. The river is the jack of spades and he checks. I wish I would have known he had a strong hand on the turn. I would have sized up. Here I don't think he calls a jam and I want to get paid, so I bet $100. He thinks and reluctantly folds, and of course I show him the epic 7 deuce offsuit for the failed bluff turned into a pure value, baby. Probably the best start to a session I've had yet, or at least the most fun. Now I look down at Jack 9 of spades on the button with a bunch of limps and decide to raise it up to $20. Under the gun is the only caller. Heads up to a flop that is 10, 9 deuce rainbow. Under the gun checks and I bet $15. He calls. The turn is a 6 of spades. He checks, and in lower limit, if someone calls the flop, they have a minimum of 1 pair or a decent draw. Since I only have second pair with a mediocre kicker, I check back. The river's the ace of diamonds, and now he leads for $30. Bad river, as it's likely he has improved. I fold, and it turns out it was a good river because he shows us 7-8 of diamonds for the turned nuts. The very next hand, I raise to $16 in the cutoff with ace jack off. I get 2 callers, the flop comes 3 bricks, and I check fold to a bet. I lose about $30 or so in another hand. Now I look down at a real hand, ace king offsuit, with a $6 straddle under the gun. I raise it to 25 and everyone folds. Next I'm under the gun with pocket 8s. Raise to $20, get 2 callers, and it checks down, and somehow 8s are good. Stack is healthy, and now there is a straddle under the gun to $6 by College Joe. There's 1 call, and I take a peek at the best starting hand in poker. That's right, pocket rockets. Whew, burning my hand, but I have to take a second look. There is 1 call of the straddle. $26 is the new bet. It folds to Joe. He hates money and can't fold a straddle to a donkey like me. Heads up, we go to a flop. King Jack 4 rainbow. He checks and I see bet $25. Pretty standard. He ends up making the call, and now the turn is the king of hearts. Not the best turn card for me. He checks again, and I clearly have the range advantage here, but decide to check back. If he has a king, he will no doubtedly lead the river, and I'm not worried about anything else, which will make for a pretty easy and clear decisions on the river. The river is the 5 of spades, and he checks a 3rd time, and since he has no kings and I have all of them in my range, the question is, how much can I get him to call with a jack or worse? I decide on a small bet of $25, but he just folds. In the hijack, I look down at 3-5 of hearts. I raise to $20. Gotta balance my range. Can't raise with only good cards all the time. I get 2 callers, and we had 3 ways to a flop of 5-5 jack. I can't even run bluffs tonight. they just turn into value, but I ain't complaining. I'm first to act and lead out for $35. Cutoff folds, but the button makes the call. His calling range is actually fairly wide here. The turn ends up being the ace of spades. I'm first to act, and I think this is a great card. There are a decent amount of aces in his range that he just flats pre-flop and calls on the flop. Mainly flush draws, ace jack, or even ace king with one club. I attempt a sizing that could induce a raise with those hands, and I bet $45. Is he going to do it? Oh, is he checking his cards? Waiting? Nope, it's a fold. Hey, I tried to get max value there. Now, I may or may not be inducing a little degen action here.
You straddle, Steve? I'll double
I
straddle.
will.
24 if you want to triple straddle.
After that recording, it's still not clear who started this mess. We are playing a hand of 1, 3, 6, 12, 24 blinds. The pot is already $46, and right off the bat, there is a call under the gun of $24. Now, it folds to the button, who raises the $50. It's time to take a look, boys and girls, and I squeeze out the old ace-4 offsuit. As much as I want to see this flop, the button just so happens to be a really tight player, and he for sure has my hand dominated. But for fun's sake, I'll let you guys watch the rest of this. The $24 straddle calls the $50, and now the limper goes all in for $124. It's back on the button, and he goes all in for $142. The straddler, the max straddler of $24 folds, and they are heads up. The under the gun player has sevens, and the button player who originally raised has queens, and the board runs out a sick 8, 9, 10 jack deuce, giving them both a straight. Poker is so much fun when you're not involved in stuff like this. Now let's dig into this very interesting hand. I have pocket eights, under the gun +1. A player I have enough history with. He's fairly tight, opens from under the gun to $12. I elect not to 3-bet and just call, and 3 other players also call. 5 ways to a flop. That is king 8-7 with 2 clubs. Boom, finally, let's go. Under the gun now leads for $50. This is a good flop for his range. He doesn't have flush draws often enough for me to worry about that, so I just smooth call. If I get a player behind to call that has clubs, so be it. Everyone behind folds. We're heads up to a turn that is a king, and I have a full house. He checks now. I make a fatal mistake here. His range has a ton of king X, and he could check a decent amount of the time here with trips, so I should just mostly be betting here. But when you are leveling with a player, you try to think about his entire range. He might have aces, maybe ace king, but I want to get value from all his other hands on the river, and I also have a lot of king X in my range, so I check back. The river, however, is the worst card in the absolute deck, a7. And now any kings he has just counterfeit us, and of course he leads out for $60, and I sincerely consider raising and also consider folding. It's a tough spot, but pretty standard to just make the call. I do, and my 8s are good, and he does not show, but he later claims he has 6-7 of hearts or diamonds. I can't remember. Either way, we pick it up.
Give a little mid-session update. A shout out to High Poker clothing brand, who I ended up winning this hoodie on Instagram, and it is dope as hell. I love it. I actually love the design. It's comfortable, fits me well. I really like it. Check him out on Instagram. I'll link it right here. Running pretty well, can't complain. Not too much action, not too crazy anything. It's about 11. Probably play for maybe an hour or 2 more, and let's get back into this action.
And now let's get into the biggest pot of the night. I'm on the button and look down at king 10 almost suited. It folded to me, and I raised to $15. The small blind calls, and now the big blind goes all in for $37. I go ahead and make the call in position, and the small blind calls. 3 ways to a flop that is ace 8-7. Nothing here for me. The small blind checks with no side pot. No reason to bluff, I check back. The turn, however, is a 9, and now we have something to work with. The small blind now bets $30. I don't see much merit in raising, but I am open-ended, and there's still the main pot, so I go ahead and make the call of $30. The river is a jack, and the small blind pauses for a second right before deciding to jam his entire stack in. I asked for a count. It's $179. I'm sick if he has queen 10 here, but as played, there is just no planet where I fold. So I make the call, and I show him a 10, and he shows us 5-6 for the smaller straight. The big blind has nothing, and I scoop up this over $500 pot. The very next hand, I have king 8 of hearts in the cutoff and decide to raise the $20. I'm on a heater. What do you want from me? Move your damn arm. Okay, thank you. I get 2 calls, and the flop is beautiful. 9-8-3 with 2 hearts. Middle pair with a flush draw. Both players check to me. I bet $20. And they both call. Okay, now we have a pot. The turn is a 6. Both check to me. Interesting spot to double barrel. I think it's a good spot as I have plenty of equity, and the turn only brought in 1 unlikely straight draw. So I continue to tell my story and bet $50. The big blind makes the correct decision and folds, but under the gun is a non-believer and makes the call. I have never played with this player before, and he seems fairly tight up until this point, so the river might get dicey. Psych, the river's queen of hearts. And he checks again. And of course I need to make a bet size that will most likely get called or possibly induce a raise. There is only one hand that beats us, and if he has it, so be it. I bet $75. And dag nabbit, he angrily punts his cards to the muck. But we scoop another pot. Real quick, I flick some corners and we look at ace queen. I raise pre-flop to $20. Get 1 call, c-bet the flop for $15, and he folds. I know there is a small portion of you out there that love seeing me lose hands, so let's head down that rabbit hole. I open up king jack offsuit to $15. The button calls, and in the small blind, our buddy College Joe squeezes, essentially, to $55, 3-betting us. Even though I'm in position, I decide to fold, and there you have it, I lost a hand. In this next hand, I am in the big blind, and under the gun opens to $12. I look down at 8-9 of diamonds. The same player that was to our right earlier decided he wants to be on my left, which is, I think, a smart move. And I decide to call the $12 raise, and we head to a flop heads up that is 8-8-3. I go ahead and check it over to the pre-flop aggressor, and he checks back. The turn is an ace, and now I lead for $20. I feel like there's a lot of aces in his range here. He goes ahead and makes the call. The river is a 6, and now I bet $55. He thinks for a minute and says that we don't have enough bluffs here, shows us ace 10, and denies us our value by folding here. I think back and wonder if maybe I should have checked this river since he has so many aces in his range as played, and maybe he bets and I can check raise. Not that he would call that, but nonetheless it would allow us to get some extra equity in the hand. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. This is gonna wrap it up for this episode. I play a few more small hands, $15, $20 pots, 8-9 of spades, deuce 3 of spades in the small blind, and we go ahead and cash out.
We're about to sign off. We had a great session. We were in for 300, out for 871 for a profit of 571. I even got in a great bluff, which turned into be some trips.
Value.
Yeah, some value because I tried to 3-bet 7 deuce off, and
Walk trips on me.
you know, it happens. It happens. I owe him that one from the king's hand.
No,
But
that was
anyways, we'll see you guys next time.
Like and subscribe, baby.